Hi, I'm Ben McSheffrey and I'm the Technical Training Manager for Symmons Industries. Today, I'll show you how simple it is to replace the TA-10 spindle in a Symmons Temptrol shower valve. But first, did you know that if you rebuild a Temptrol shower valve with a new TA-10 spindle and new TA-4 seats, you'll automatically reset and renew the warranty regardless of the age of the valve? It's true. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would I need to replace my Temptrol spindle? It usually comes down to one of two reasons: for preventative maintenance or to resolve an issue such as a slow drip or inconsistent temperature. These types of issues are typically related to poor water quality, debris in the valve carried in by water, or just general wear and tear after decades of use. Whatever the case may be, installing a new spindle is simple. Just be sure to use only genuine Symmons parts to avoid damaging the valve or voiding the warranty. Here's a quick rundown of the tools we'll need to replace the TA-10 spindle. A new genuine Symmons TA-10 spindle, a 15/16 open end wrench or large adjustable wrench, a small adjustable wrench, an Allen wrench set, a Phillips-head screwdriver, and if your valve has integral stops, you'll need a large flathead screwdriver. Before we get started, there are two very important steps we must follow before disassembling a Temptrol valve. The first step is pretty logical. Turn off the hot and cold water supply lines to the valve. If your Temptrol valve has integral stops, like this, you can shut off the water right at the valve. Just use a large flathead screwdriver and turn each stop in the clockwise direction until it seats. The second step is to open the valve to make sure the water is turned off completely and to release any residual water pressure. But more importantly, you must turn the valve to the fully open position before you begin to disassemble the valve. If you try to disassemble the valve while it's in the closed position, you'll likely do irreversible damage to the valve. Now that the water is off and the valve is fully open, let's remove that old TA-10 spindle. One of the nice features of the Temptrol is that you can repair the valve right from the front. Depending on the trim design, some valves can be repaired just by removing the handle and the dome cover. If your valve has integral stops, you'll need to remove the escutcheon to access them. And some decorative trim designs may limit your access to the cap assembly and spindle, so you may have to remove the escutcheon in that case as well. With the water off and the valve in the open position, we'll remove the handle first. If you have a newer Temptrol trim, the handle is held onto the spindle with a set screw. The Allen wrench size for that screw will either be 1/8 inch or 3/32 inch, depending on the handle style. If you have an older Symmons valve, the handle may be attached by a Phillips-head screw that's under the decorative button. After removing the handle, unscrew the dome cover by turning it counterclockwise. On some older valve designs, the dome cover is held on by a decorative nut. Now the T12A cap assembly and the end of the TA-10 spindle should be visible. Set the handle and the dome cover aside in a safe place, but we'll need the handle in a few minutes, so keep it close by. Now we're ready to remove the cap assembly and the TA-10 spindle, and that's where the 15/16 wrench, or the large adjustable wrench, comes in. Using the wrench flats, loosen the cap assembly from the valve by turning it in a counterclockwise direction. It may take a little bit of force to loosen, especially if you have hard water or if the valve hasn't been serviced in a long time. When it's loose, spin the entire assembly out of the valve. It should spin out easily. If there's any resistance, stop and make sure the valve is in the fully open position. You should end up with the cap assembly and the spindle in your hand as one unit. You'll notice there's a thin fiber gasket that makes the seal between the cap assembly and the valve body. Sometimes it stays with the cap assembly and sometimes it sticks to the valve body. And sometimes, usually on a Monday, it falls inside the wall, never to be seen again. Either way, it's okay because a new genuine Symmons TA-10 always includes a new cap gasket. So wherever that old gasket ends up, just set it aside for now. It's also a good idea to move away from the tub or shower now to prevent any damage in case you drop something in the next few steps. Now, we'll just separate the cap assembly from the spindle. Use the small adjustable wrench to loosen the packing nut. That's the small nut that helps make the watertight seal around the spindle. You should be able to just use your hands to unscrew the spindle from the cap assembly. Set that cap assembly aside because we'll be reusing it when we reassemble the valve. If you started this repair because the valve was having temperature issues or no flow, the issue is likely the pressure balancing shuttle inside the TA-10 spindle. Before we change it, let's check to see if that shuttle inside is jammed with debris or minerals. There's a simple way to tell. Just give it a good shake. If you hear that telltale clicking noise, your TA-10 spindle is working properly from a temperature and flow standpoint. Now, if you started this repair because the valve was dripping, you can simply replace the TA-9 washer kit or the TA-4C kit, depending on the condition of those parts. We've created in-depth how-to videos for replacing both of those kits. In this case, the shuttle inside is not moving freely. So we'll set it aside and install a new one. But don't throw that old one away just yet. Check our tips and tricks video for a method that may help salvage that spindle so you can keep it as a spare. Now, let's get to installing that new spindle. In the new TA-10 package, you'll find the spindle, the new cap gasket, and the instructions. If you don't see the new cap gasket, check inside the instructions. It may have slipped inside during shipping. Set that gasket aside in a safe place for now. Now, we'll just repeat all the same steps in reverse. Insert the new spindle into the bottom of the cap assembly and slowly twist the end through the packing material until it meets the threads. Then, just thread it in clockwise. Thread the two parts together as far as they can go until it hits the cap assembly or the T34 temperature limit stop screw. At this point, if you plan to change the TA4C kit, now is the time to do that. But ours look pretty good, probably because this is a brand new valve that we just pulled out of the box for this demonstration. We've created a video on replacing the TA4C kit too, so if you're going to replace them, pause this video and watch that video. We'll wait.
2 hours later.
Back now? Okay, cool. Remember that thin cap gasket that was included with the new spindle? Well, now's the time to put it on. Just place it over the spindle and seat it on the cap assembly. Hold it in place with the tips of your fingers as you hold the assembly. Before reassembling the valve, check the condition of the valve threads and take a look at the seats inside the valve body. Now, carefully thread the cap assembly back into the valve body by hand. Here's an old tip to help you thread it in correctly. Gently turn the assembly counterclockwise until you feel the threads drop together. Then spin it together by hand. It's kind of like cracking a safe. The assembly should spin in easily. If you feel any resistance, stop, check the threads, and try again. Once it spins in freely, use that big wrench again to tighten the cap assembly into the valve. Just make it tight. Don't use any excessive force, power tools, or superpowers. Once it's tight, put the handle back onto the spindle temporarily and turn it clockwise to close the valve. Then, use the small adjustable wrench to snug up that packing nut just a bit. Okay, the new spindle is in and we're ready to turn the water back on. You feeling lucky?
Well, do you, punk?
Slowly turn the hot and cold water back on and check for leaks. Turn the valve on and let it run, and cycle through the cold range and the hot range to test the temperature. Turn the valve off and check for leaks again. If everything looks good, reinstall the dome cover, the handle, and the escutcheon if you removed it. That's it, you're done. And remember, Symmons has a full suite of maintenance and repair videos to help you keep your Temptrol working like new. If you have any questions related to the maintenance of this or any Symmons product, just give our technical support team a call at 1-800-SYMMONS. On behalf of the entire team at Symmons, thanks and have a great day.